This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Boker Tov, good morning. אנחנו יש לנו ישראלים פה, אבל גם נגיד באנגלית. We have Israelis here, we'll also do it in English, don't worry. Okay? So, Parsha Balak. We've had many different Rebbes who were known for their Ahavat Yisroel, for their unbounding love for our people. Right, a number of fantastic stories about the Berditchever, the Rebbe from Berditchev, the Berditchever Rebbe. So someone once came to him complaining and said, Rebbe, the wagon drivers, it was during Tefillah, during Shacharit, during the morning prayers, the wagon drivers, they're there with their talit and their tefillin, under their wagons, greasing the wheels to get ready to go to work afterwards with a talit and tefillin. He said, amazing. Even when they grease their axles, they're davening, right? He's always able to turn it to see the positive. Someone I think it was with him. He was walking on Shabbos, and there were some Jews who were standing there smoking on Shabbos. So he said to them, he said, you know that it's Shabbos. And they said, yes, Rabbi, we know it's Shabbos. He said, and you know that smoking is not supposed to be done on Shabbos. Yes, Rabbi, we know you're not supposed to smoke on Shabbos. You know that you're smoking. Yes, Rabbi, we know that we're smoking. So he looks to the heavens and he says, Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe, who are like your children? They're so honest. They're so honest. Another person like that was the Apter Rav. He was a tremendous Ohev Yisroel. And he would say that every Parsha, in every single Parsha, every single Torah weekly portion, in every single Parsha, you have Ahavat Yisrael. They said, okay, Rabbi, where in Parshat Balak, right, our Parsha this week, page 856, Parshat Balak, where in Parshat Balak do you have Ahavat Yisrael? He said, simple. Balak, Bet Lamed Kuf. It's spelled Bet Lamed Kuf. That's the Rashi Tevot of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You should love your neighbor like yourself. They said, Rebbe, what are you talking about? V'ahavta is with a vav. Balak starts with a bet. Kamocha is with a kaf. Balak is spelled with a kuf. How do you see V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha from the word Balak? And he said, if you want to love your fellow, you can't get all caught up in bet, vav, kaf, kuf. All that is irrelevant. Bi'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Okay, so that's Parshat Balak. We're about to start. A very, very unusual Parsha. Typically, the Torah discusses all the things that went on. Okay, creation, right? But then it all went on with those who were going to be building our nation, right? Whether we're starting with Adam and Chava and Noah and his children, and then we have Abraham. It's all going on, things that are going on with us. Right, and with the players who were involved, and certainly once Moshe enters the scene, it's all things happening with Moshe. Here we're finding something going on completely unbeknownst to Bnei Yisrael, to the children of Israel. This is going on elsewhere. What's happening? Vayar Balak ben Tzipor. Balak, the son of Tzipor, saw eight asher asa Yisroel la Emori. All that Israel had done to the Emori. That's page 854. On our way, going through the Midbar, as we're getting closer to Israel, we have a battle against Sichon and Og, two very, very mighty nations, and we won those battles in a very decisive manner. So Balak ben Sipor saw eight kol asher asa Yisrael le'emori. All that Israel had done to the Emorites, vayagar Moav, mipnei ha'am ma'od. And Moab was very, very scared before this nation, Kiravu, because they were quite numerous. Vayakatz Moab mipnei b'nei Yisrael, and they were like disgusted, right? They had no will to live because of these b'nei Yisrael, and therefore, and they said, Vayomu Moab El Midzikni, and Moab said to the elders of Midian, Ata now Yilachachu Kahal. This congregation is going to lick up at Kol Savivotain, the whole area around us, Kilucho Hashur, like an ox licks up the greenery, the yerek of a field. Balak ben Sipor melech Moab ve'etahi. Balak, the son of Sipor, was the king of Moab at that time, and therefore vayishlach malachim el Bilam ben Baor. Therefore they sent messengers to Bilam, the son of Baor, saying to him, "Come, curse for me this nation." Okay, so there's a lot going on over here, a lot of moving parts. First of all, Vayar Balak ben Sipor. Balak ben Sipor saw all that Yisroel had done to the Emori. Right? In our davening this morning from Parsha, let's find it in the Parsha itself, so everybody will be able to see. Right? In Parsha Bishalach, we have the reaction of the nations by the splitting of the sea. On page, where are we? Sorry. On page 378. Page 378. We say there, Nachita, verse 12, 13. Nachita b'chazdecha, you led with your compassion this nation that you had redeemed. Nahalta v'azcha el neve kashecha. Shamu amim yirgazun. The nations heard and they trembled. Chil achaz yoshvei palashet. Terror gripped those who are palashet. Alufei Edom, Elei Moab, it was Emira'ad, right? They all were trembling. Namogu, they melted, they dissolved, right? This is the reaction of everyone. Let's take a look on page 394. Vayishma Yitro, Kohen Midian. Yitro, who was the minister or the priest of Midian, heard all that Hashem had done, right? And what did he do? And he comes to join the people. That's what Vayishma Yitro. Yitro heard all that had been done. And what did he say? I want to be part of that. And he comes to Moshe, to Har HaElokim. What happens? Balak sees Eight Kol Asher Asa Yisrael Emori, all that Israel had done. And what did he say? I want to kill them. I want to curse them. I want to destroy them. And this speaks to a point that I often say. And that is, It's not what's going on outside of us that determines where we are at. You could have the same exact situation going on, and you could have one person who sees it and is uplifted, someone else who sees it and they are despondent. They are just, some are inspired and others are turned off. The same exact situation. I said Rav Noach Weinberg, the legendary founder of Eish HaTorah, worldwide Eish HaTorah, he defined love as a decision to focus on the positive in another person. That's what love is. Love is a decision that we make. Right? Each of us have people in our lives. If we love those people, it means we've decided to focus on the positive. It's a decision. And right, the Pasuk in Mishnah, I'm not getting exactly my mind right now, but it's a mikra echad l'tzadik u'lerasha, along those lines. The same event for a tzaddik and for a rasha. One person could see it and decide, wow, right, that's it, right? I'm going to do this. And I said, I'm going to drop it all. It's all the same thing. We decide, right? Happiness is not dependent on the external events. It's all dependent on how we decide we're going to deal with it. We're going to process it. In our Chovat Halvavot, we do Monday nights. So there in the Shara Bitachon, a person can be financially strapped, right? A person could be, I can't believe it, God, why does this person have that and that person has this and I'm struggling so much, and get so angry? Or a person could say, wow, right? I have what I need. And I don't have all the worries, right? Marbe nechasim, marbe da'aga. It says in Ethics of the Fathers. I have more property, I have more worries. I don't have that. I have what I need. I could live my nice, simple life. Rav Aryeh Levine, who was a tzaddik who lived in Yerushalayim, there's a book, A Tzaddik in Our Time, by Rav Aryeh Levine. He lived in a one-room, not one bedroom, a one-room apartment, and raised a family there, right? A one-room apartment. And he said, I'm like a melech. I'm like a king. Anything I need is right here in the room with me. I have to go upstairs again to get that. I have to go downstairs to get that. It's all right here. Vayishma Yitro. Yitro heard, and he became the part of Bnei Yisroel. Balak heard, and he went to curse Bnei Yisroel. We decide how we're going to interpret, be affected by the events that go on around us. What's interesting is, verse 2, Balak saw. Verse 3, Moab was afraid. Verse 4, Moab reaches out to the elders of Midian. Why to Midian? Because Moshe was from that Midian area. And Moshe, his power was in his mouth. They knew that he had a different type of power. So they reached out to Bilam, who also had his power in his ability to curse, right, or to bless, we'll see, right? But Bilam was a prophet amongst the nations of the world. And the sages explain that they also needed to have their chance, right? As the nation could say, well, you sent all these prophets to the Jewish people. That's why they were elevated. Why don't you send us some prophets? So Hashem always gives the opportunities. And they had a prophet, but that went south very, very quickly. Okay. Here we have, yes, Jen.
I'm really confused because wasn't it that Hashem said you do not injure Moab, you don't war against them, you don't take their territory, you don't. So how could Moab be afraid? Because they knew that.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, later it was there were some Moabites who knew that, and in history.
Yeah.
I don't get how.
Yeah.
How something doesn't parse on it.
Actually, that is what that is what Bilam actually told them by the end of the parsha. I'll tell you what will happen. Ba'acharit hayamim. I'll let you know what will happen at the end of the days, meaning that you don't need to be worried really until then. Okay. However,
that's very cryptic. We wouldn't necessarily get that.
Yeah.
From the text.
So are you asking on Moab?
Yeah.
Right? Moab is safe until the end of days. So why were they afraid? Okay. I don't know if Moab, what they knew, or what they believed, or if they believed, or if they were acting out of, sometimes fear is often somewhat irrational. Let's put it like that. Right? Fear is often a bit irrational.
Even Lot knew to obey Hashem and not look back. I mean, he may have been mixed, but for example, they say when the
but you can also equally ask his wife didn't. Yeah. Right? Fear is somewhat irrational. Let's go with that. So they go to him. Let's go down to verse 7. They came to Bilam and they spoke to him. And he said to them, Pasuk Chet, verse 8, Linu po halayla. Right, I'm sorry, verse 6. They said, please come, curse his people. They are too powerful for me. Right? Perhaps I will be able to strike it and drive it from the land. I know whoever you bless is blessed, whomever you curse is accursed. So that was the message that they came to bring to Bilam. And he says, spend the night here, and I'll answer you what God will speak to me. And they stayed there. Vayeshu, we turn to 858, they stayed there. Hashem came to Bilam and said, Miha nashim ha'ela imach. Who are these people coming with you? Vayomer Bilam Elokim, Bilam said back to God, Balak ben Sipor melech Moav shalach elai. Balak, the son of Sipor, the king of Moab, sent to me. So why is God asking Bilam, who are these people? Right? So Hashem always gives us the opportunity to make decisions. There's a teaching, V'derech she'adam rotze lelech, bo molichin oto. On the path that you want to go, that will be the path upon which you will be led. Hashem said to Bilam, who's there? Rashi says, Bilam thought to himself, I guess he's not all-knowing. Pa'amim she'ein hakol galui lefanav. Sometimes God doesn't know what's going on. Ein dato shaveh alav. His dat, his knowledge, his awareness is not pervasive. It's not always there. Af ani ereh 8. I will also, Rashi says, in paraphrasing Bilam, I'll find a time she'uchal lekalel, that I will be able to curse them. V'lo yavin, and God won't realize. He's obviously not all aware. Why did Hashem ask him this question, which opens up the possibility that Bilam will say God is not all aware? Because b'derech she'adam rotze lelech, bo molichin oto. Hashem gives us all of these choices constantly in life, and that's the path that we go on. So he answers in a haughty way, Balak ben Sipor, Melech Moab. You know who sends to me? The king of Moab sends his people to me. And saying the nations left Egypt, they've covered the land, go curse them for me. Maybe I can fight them and I can chase them away. Vayomer Elokim el Bilam, verse 12. Hashem said to Bilam, Lo telech imahem. Do not go with them. Lo ta'or et ha'am. Do not curse the nation. Ki baruch hu. Because they are blessed. Hashem tells Bilam, don't go. Bilam gets up in the morning, says to the officers of Balak, go back to your land. Ki me'ein Hashem latiti. God is not allowing me lahaloch imachem. God is not allowing me to go along with you. Oh, so what is he implying over here? It's not that God's not letting me go. It's not, right? But God's not going to let me go with you. Right? There's a subtlety there, which they hear. They get up, they go back to Balak, verse 15, 14, and they say, Bilam did not want to go imanu, with us. Oh, fair enough. What does Balak do? Shalolach sarim rabim v'nichbadim me'ela. So what does he do? He sends other officers, messengers, more, a larger group, nichbadim, a more honored, a higher level group was sent. And they came to Bilam and said, this is what Balak says, don't hold back to go with us. We will honor you. I will honor you. Whatever you tell me to do, I will do. Come and curse this nation. Bilam answers and says, if Balak will give me his whole house filled with silver and gold, I can't go against the words of Hashem, my God, lasot, to do katana gedola. I can't do little, I can't do big. Vata now, shvuna bazeh gam atem halayla. Stay again this night, and I'll see ve'eda, and I'll know ma yosef Hashem daber imi. What else will God say to me? God came to Bilam that night and said to him, Im l'kro lecha b'onashim, if they've come to call you, kum lech itam. You can get up and go with them. But exactly what I'm going to speak to you, oto ta'aseh. That you must do. Yes, Aharon.
Why did Balak have this merit to have direct communication with Hashem? We've never heard of
Bilam. So again, why did Bilam have
the merit of talking directly to Hashem? Because only Moshe.
Yeah.
Of everybody on earth.
Yeah. And again, the Chazal, the sages say, Lo kan bi Yisroel kim Moshe navi od. Right? There never will arise in Israel a navi like Moshe. Right? And they are very, very exacting there. In Israel, there won't be a navi like a prophet like Moshe. But amongst the nations there was Bilam, right? And now we know that in order, the Rambam, Maimonides goes through, in order to be a Navi, a prophet, there needs to be this humility, there needs to be so many components that a person has. So Aaron is asking beautifully, so how did Bilam have this, I'll let you know, God's going to speak to me tonight, he'll tell me what to do. How did he have this direct line of communication? Yeah, it's a very strong question. And again, the sages say that this was in order that the nations had to have their chance. They would not be able to say, oh, you sent a great prophet to Israel, right? Had you sent us a great prophet, then we would have also become this nation of princes, this godly nation. And Hashem gave them that opportunity. And yeah.
And even though it was direct, wasn't there something where Balaam could only do certain times
Correct. He was no fail. Yeah, it was only at night that God would appear to him. Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't just like
correct
with Moshe.
It wasn't that same clarity.
But on the other hand, it says Hashem, my God. So clearly he's having
some recognition. Yeah.
On the derech, and he says, I can only do what Hashem says.
Yes.
So he's not like saying, I have to go off.
He is certainly a very contorted individual. Yes, Ruti.
I'm thinking that it's making a problem of like these days because the Christians, they also look at the Bible and a lot of other nations, and they see that from them can be also somebody so close to Hashem like a Nabi, and they're thinking, okay, Jesus, whatever. I mean, they're thinking.
Well, for them, Jesus isn't a problem. Jesus was Jewish.
Yeah, but it's for them is something to that they make him like he was there. So, or they can find somebody else and say, okay, he's special, so can
look. There are a lot of groups that believe in prophecy. Right? Certainly, Islam thinks that Muhammad was the greatest prophet who supersedes all. They see Musa, Moshe. They recognize Moshe and they recognize Jesus, but he is, 2.0. He is, right? And actually the Mormons, I'm always amazed by the Mormons. No, besides Joseph Smith, there's always a present day prophet. Mormonism believes that there is a present day prophet, right? One of their elders, right, is a prophet.
And how is that person identified? What is the criteria?
That I can't tell you. Right? That I can't tell you. Maybe it's chosen at the Republican convention. I'm not sure.
I'm just thinking that Bilam, he believed in Hashem. I mean, he had emunah in Hashem, the only Hashem's, but the world that he lived in did not. Because if they did, then they would have, it would have been a different connection.
Yeah. But yeah, I hear that, Jenny. And also he had a distorted view of Hashem. It's Hashem Elokai. Nevertheless, I'm going to be able to do what I want to do. Right? And now Hashem comes back to him and says, if you want to go, im likro lecha bo'anashim, kum lech itam. If you want, you can go along with them. And here Rashi says, right? But I'm telling you right now, you'll only say what I want you to say. So why did he go along? He thought, well, maybe I'll be able to slip in something against, right? He wasn't being brought there to bless. He was being paid to curse. But again, in this contorted world of a Bilam, maybe I will be able to sneak a curse in over there. But Hashem goes up and back. First he told him not to go, and then he says, if you want, you can go, but whatever I tell you to say, you'll say. And Orach Chaim HaKadosh explains over here that had Hashem told him, don't go, that would imply that if he would go, then God cannot control. Right? I can't let you go, because if you do go, then you'll be able to do whatever you want beyond my godly control. and therefore I'm not going to let you go. And that would be giving an erroneous view of God and the world. So the end, he said, if you want to go, you can go. So you let him know clearly, don't go. That's not the right thing to do. You want to go? You can go, but I'm going to be in control over there also. Whatever I tell you to say, you will say. And once again, why is Hashem letting him go at all? V'derech she'adam rotza leilech bo molichin oto. The path that a person wants to go, that is the path that a person goes on.
The translation is a little more ambiguous. First, he's told, do not go. And he obeys that. He says, I can't.
Yes,
And
but he twists it.
Right.
I can't go with you guys.
But then it says here, if the men came to summon you, arise and go with them, a direct command, not if you want to go. So it's a little bit more ambiguous and not just his choice. Now he's being told he has to go, but then you're going to be subject to what I say.
Right.
So it's more like,
what's bothering you is the kum?
Is the arise and go with them, that it's a direct command.
It's not direct command.
If
l'kro l'cha bo anashim, if they came to summon you, and the way it's explained according to Rashi, if you think that you're going to be benefiting from that, then get up and go. Right? It's preceded by an if.
Okay, it says
right?
I'll arise and go with them. So
Yeah.
That seems to be a direct.
Yeah. I wouldn't take this as a command, you must go.
Okay.
Right? I told you not to go. If the if they come to call you, and you right, so I think it's pretty clear. If that's what you want, kum lech itam, get up and go with them. But what I'm telling you to do, what I tell you to say, that is what you must say, and no more and no less.
Rabbi,
Yes.
It wasn't people that they should go with or not go with. It was the idea that he had the idea and to curse the Jewish people. So Hashem saying, no, you can't go and curse the Jewish people. But then afterwards, he said, okay, if you're going to go, then we're going to turn this thing in another direction.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the people really, it was the idea.
Correct. It was never the people.
Yeah.
But Bilam, because of his pride, did not want to admit I'm under the control of God. God told me not to. No. The problem is not in going, right? The problem is that it was dishonorable to me that you sent such people along, right? It was beneath my kavod, beneath my level of honor that you sent such people along.
But he clearly every time says, I can only do what Hashem, my God, says.
Yes, but what did Hashem's God tell him to do?
Don't go. So
Don't go. Right? So we see that he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. Right? Very tiny, people can very often talk very, very frum, very, very religiously, but they're not necessarily, they might be talking the talk, but not necessarily walking the walk. And that's the case over here. The Gemara says this idea, the path that a person wants to go on, the person will be led, but it adds a little bit of a twist. And it says, Haba litaher misayin oto. If the path that you want to go on is litaher, Haba litaher, you want to become tahor, you want to improve yourself, you want to purify yourself, you want to lift yourself up, that's the path, misayin oto. You'll be helped along that path. Haba l'tamei, you want to make yourself tamei, impure, potchin lo. Right? You want to go on that path? You'll be allowed to go on that path. You're not going to be stopped. But potchin lo, what happens? Opportunities will be opened up for you, but you will not be pushed. You will not be helped along that. Habal l'taher mesayinoto, you get helped. Habal l'tamei, you want to become tamei, potchin lo. You'll have those opportunities will be there for you to take, but you will not be pushed in that direction. And the Gemara actually brings a pasuk for that. Im laleitzim hu yalitz, im la'anavim yitain chen. Im laleitzim, if you want to be with those who are scorners, who are rejecting, hu yalitz. You can join up with them. Im la'anavim, you want to be with those who have anava, who have humility, who are humble. Yitain chen. You'll be given chen. You'll be given a help in that direction. And the Gemara then gives a mashal, gives a parable. This is a beautiful, beautiful teaching that I heard when I was a student in Ner Yisroel in Baltimore, from Rav Yaakov Galinsky of blessed memory. He came to speak then. This is in the early 1980s, and that was the time that the Shah of Iran had recently been deposed, and they had the Islamic Revolution, and many Jewish families wanted to get their sons out of there, not knowing what the future would hold, and they were correct in doing so. And there was a whole large group of these boys, these Iranian boys in Ner Yisroel. And Ner Yisroel, Rav Neuberger did amazing things in bringing them all in and taking care of them over there. So when Rav Galinsky came to speak, so he spoke in Yiddish to the general yeshiva, and of course the Iranian boys did not speak Yiddish, and the Eugene Ciners of the world also did not speak Yiddish. So he also spoke in Hebrew, right, for the Iranian boys. So I went to hear him speak over there. And he spoke about that Gemara, because he spoke about this idea that these boys had left everything behind and come to a completely new foreign country where they had never been before, and they were making their mesirut nefesh. They were choosing a path and giving up a lot along the way. So he spoke about this Gemara. Habal l'taher, a person wants to become tahor, he gets helped. Habal l'tamei, you want to become tamei. Potkin lo, the opportunities open up for you. And then the Gemara there speaks about this, gives the pasuk that I mentioned before, the verse, and then the Gemara gives a mashal, a parable, of a person who went into a store that sells all these different items, spices, things like that. And he asks the shopkeeper, where do you have a parsimon? A parsimon has a wonderful fragrance. And the shopkeeper said, Hamtem li, wait for me. And then, v'nit basem ani vata, I'll help you scoop it out. And we'll both get that nice fragrance. The person wants neft, kerosene, malodorous. He says, take it yourself over there. So Rav Galinsky asked, Ma mosif hamashal, right? If the sages are giving a parable, they're not just telling a story. There's something being added in this parable over here. And he said, Ma mosif hamashal, what's the parable adding? Right? It's obvious. You want a parsimony, you want something good. I'll help you scoop it out. Messiah noto. I'll scoop it out with you. You get helped. You want the neft, you want to get its stench upon yourself. Right? Potchenlo, it's right over there, third row on the left-hand side. Help yourself, you don't get helped. Opportunity there, you don't get pushed, you don't get helped. What's the mashal adding? And he said, let's hear it again. The person wants a parsimon. What does the owner say? Hamtain li. Wait for me, and then I'll scoop it out with you. And he was telling these boys and all of us that sometimes we do the right thing. We make the Mesirat Nefesh. We put in the effort and we say, God, why aren't you helping me? Why is this being so difficult? Why is it not going so easily now? That's what the mashal, the parable, is adding. It's not instantaneous. It's not instant coffee. It's not a microwave. Put it in, take it out 30 seconds later, piping hot. Hamtenli. That's not how the world works. Messianoto. You'll be helped, but hamtenli. You need to wait sometimes. It doesn't always happen instantly.
An example of that is people who are Baal Tshuva and they have to go through the process because they didn't grow up that way.
Yeah. Janet says, Balei Tshuva often is a process you go through. Though it's interesting, with Balei Tshuva, initially, right, when you start something new, you get this burst and you're floating and it's great and wow. And then after a while, it can start to, it can start to get heavier, a little more difficult. I remember when I was my first year in yeshiva post high school. So I was on fire at first, and then it started getting harder and harder when all that excitement and newness. And I spoke to one of my rabbis there, Rav Werner was his name. And he gave me a great understanding, which I've taken with me through many different points in my life since then. It's been a few years since my post-high school year in Israel. And he said that when a child is first starting to walk, so what happens? The parents basically are holding by both hands, supporting his way, and the kid's like walking along, thinking he's walking, right? And then parents start to let him carry his own weight, but still holding both hands. And then they're only holding one hand. And then they are a few feet away. Come on, you can do it. Into their arms. And then it's across the room. And then eventually the parents are in the kitchen and the kid's doing what he's doing. If the kid falls and cries, the parents will come. Otherwise, he's on his own, right? Because the person needs to learn how to walk on their own. Right? You don't want to go down the aisle to the chuppah, the parents on either side, in your starter shoes, right? So he said, when you first started learning, right, Hashem was holding your hands and walking along, and now he's slowly giving you the ability to carry your own weight and to build your own cheshek, your own enjoyment, and to an appreciation of that. So so there's Messianoto, there's the help. It comes in different stages. The whole idea is that it needs to become ours, become our own. Actually, we have this idea, though, that the path that a person wants to walk, the person chooses that path and they're led on that path. We have that in Megillat Esther. You want to take a look in the back of your Chumashim on page 1252. The Vilna Gaon in Megillat Esther, he explains that in addition to the story that's happening over there with Achashverosh and Haman and Vashti and Esther and Mordechai, there's also a much deeper level of what this represents, in addition to all that's going on. And he says that Achashverosh is the Yetzer Hara. Well, Achashverosh, will say, is the goof, is the physicality. And the party that he throws, that party is Olam Hazeh, is this world. Haman is the Yetzer Hara, the inclination to bring about bad. Mordechai is the Yetzer Hatov, right? Mordechai is the Yetzer Hatov, is the good inclination. Vashti was first there, married to Achashverosh, completely immersed in physicality in this world. And that type of human being could not continue to be. And therefore we needed an Esther. An Esther is a person who lives in the palace of Achashverosh, but she is married to Mordechai. Her allegiance is to Mordechai. As she lives in the palace of Achashverosh, as we are completely immersed in this world, our allegiance needs to be to the Yetzer HaTov, to making the good, positive decisions. And he explains when the pasuk over there, page 1252 in Megillat Esther, the first chapter, pasuk chet, talking about the party there. Vashadia kedat, and the drinking was according to the law. Ein ones, no one was forced without coercion. Kichein yisad hamelech, because that is what was established by the king. Al kol rav beito, over all of the officers of his house, la'asot kirtzon ish v'ish, to do as the will of ish v'ish, and every person. So on a simple level, what's happening over here? Achashverosh is throwing in this big, massive party. He has ascended to the throne. He wants to have everyone in awe of him, everyone happy with his rule. And there's going to be a lot of drinks available, but no one's going to get forced. And he commands all those in charge of his house to do kiritzon ish v'ish. No one should be forced to drink. Do the ratzon, the will of each and every person. Now we know on this deeper level, when it says Hamelech Achashverosh, that means King Achashverosh. When it says just Hamelech, the king, who's that referring to? That is referring to Hashem throughout the Megillah, right? When it says Hamelech, the king, that is Hashem. And therefore, the Vilna Gaon explains this pasuk as follows. Now, the Gemara says, to do the ratzon, to do the will of ish and ish, man and man. Well, who in the Megillah is referred to as an ish? Mordechai. One of the psukim we repeat is ish Yehudi. Haya b'shushan abir shema Mordechai ben Shimon Kish. Ish Yemini. Mordechai is an ish. Who else is referred to as an ish? Haman. What happens at the end of the Megillah? Achashverosh says to Esther at the second party, Mihuzeh, Vehezahu. Who is it that's doing this to you? And she says, Ish, Tsar, Va'oyev, Haman, Hara Hazeh. So who is the Ish and Ish? Haman and Mordechai. So on the simple level, what is the Gemara saying? So on the simplest level, on the Pshat level, right? We have Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod, different levels. Pardes, that's the orchard. That's the orchard of the Torah. On the Pshat level, what's the pasuk saying? The simple meaning. Oh, the party was arranged that no one should be forced. Everyone have a good time. You want to drink, you drink. You don't want to drink, you don't drink. Right? No one should be forced into doing. Okay. On the little more of a drash level. Oh, who's Ish? Mordechai. Who's Ish? Haman. Oh, who are these officers? Because they were both officers in the hierarchy of the kingdom of Achashverosh. So who were these officers who were in charge of the party, who were told no one should be forced? Haman and Mordechai. And we can imagine that Mordechai probably tried to get this policy in place that the Jews who were attending shouldn't be forced to partake too much, right? It might not be kosher, who knows what. So these were policies that were being probably enacted, but enforced by Mordechai and Haman. But on the drash, on the sod, more sod level, so again, this is the party. The party represents this world. This world is a party. And what are the rules of this party? Kichein yisad hamelech. Shtia, the drinking should be done. No one's forced. Kikein yisad hamelech. That is how the king, that is how Hashem arranged matters in this world. Al kol rav beito, in terms of all of those supervisors of this house of his, by all of the different spiritual forces, the angels in this world. These are the rules of engagement over here. Lasot kirtzon ein ones. No one should be forced. But lasot kirtzon ish v'ish. Do the will of each and every ish. Ish Mordechai, ish Haman. Meaning, if a person wants to become a Mordechai, you can't stop him. Ein ones. A person wants to become an ish, a Haman, ein ones. You're not going to force him one way or the other. Everyone has the choice of who and what they will become in life. B'derech she'adam rotza leilech, bo molichin otam. The path that a person wants to go, that's the path that you'll be led on. Sometimes pushed if it's positive, otherwise opportunities open if it's not positive, but we chart our path. One of my sons once called me out very well on this. But I always said, oh, I wish I could learn. I so much would love to learn violin. I'd love to learn violin. Right? And finally, one of my sons called me out and said, Daddy, I've been hearing you say this so many times. If you want to learn violin, learn violin. Learn violin. Why do you keep talking about what you want to do and you don't do it? And I realized, I said, I think you're right. I guess what I really want to do is say that I want to learn violin. But I don't really want to take out the time to learn violin. I kept thinking, right? And at one point, actually, I took it to heart and I went online for some lessons online. I had a violin. I think I know guitar already, right? And way different. It didn't go so smoothly. So I sort of said, you know what? I'm not, when I reach a point in my life where I have a little more time, then I'll take 4 to 6 lessons. Jenny, you think that's a fair way of approaching it? 4 to 6 or more than that? Huh?
No,
huh?
That's not enough.
No, 4 or 6 lessons to see if I to see if I really want to learn it. You think 4 or 6?
Well, it depends. Yeah, maybe how much effort you want to put it. Just
yeah.
To me, it's like you're not really. If you say you're this as an example, a musician, you're not really a musician unless you're practicing being unless you're practicing on this thing. It's like I can say I'm a writer, but I'm not really. I might want to be, but
right. Yeah. Well, that's what I decided. That when I do have more time in my life, I'm going to give it a fair shot of X amount of lessons with someone really teaching, and then I can decide, is this something that I really do want to pursue or not. But very often, when a person says, I really wish I was, I really wish I was doing X. If you really wish you were doing X, then you would be doing X. But in fact, we're each doing exactly what we've chosen to do. We've each chosen the path that we are on, and that's exactly where we are. The derech she'adam rotza leilech molichin also. We see that over there by Megillat Esther. We see it throughout. But certainly Bilam the Torah lets us know you shouldn't go. If you want to go, you can go. However, we have to realize, and we'll conclude with this, that there is the master plan. There is God's master plan. The master plan is going to be fulfilled. we can choose what role we're going to play in that master plan.
Just like Mordechai said to Esther.
Right? Like exactly what Mordechai said to Esther. Right? Redach Vatzalah Ya'amod Yudim. Right? The Jews are meant to be saved. We're an eternal nation. We can't speak about individuals, but Netzach Yisroel Lo Yishaker. That's it. We will always, the Jewish people will survive. What role are you, Esther, going to play? That's what Mordechai said to her, right? Will you be forever the scourge of a person who left your nation and just buried yourself there in the palace to keep yourself safe? Or did you stand up and become the heroine of the Jewish nation in your attempt to save? That's the role that we play. We get to choose which role we are going to play in the great master plan that Hashem has. And when we choose that, whatever path we choose, it will be, if we choose to do the good path, not only will it be opened up for us, we'll be helped along that to play a positive building role in our illustrious nation. And I'll just add, the Chavetz Chaim points out that, during wartime, that is when, when a country is at peace, so for a person to rise the ranks in the military or in the hierarchy, it's very, very hard. Things are set. But during difficult times, during wartime, that is when there is incredible upward mobility that a person can rise themselves up. And I'd say for the Jewish people, we're going through a wartime now, certainly in Israel, an active war in Israel. And throughout the world, we are under the gun to a certain degree. Hopefully, it's just figuratively and not literally. But as we saw at the rally a few days ago, it could even be literally. So now is the time that we can step up and decide that we will do whatever we can do for the Jewish people, for Hashem in this world, and for His people. And during these difficult times, the rate of elevation is greatly, greatly accelerated. Okay, my friends. Just next week, I will be here. I'm not going to be here Monday. I'm coming back Monday night, but we will have class next week, Tuesday morning. Okay, so if you see I'm not here Shabbos, I'm not here Sunday, Monday, don't think you play hooky on Tuesday. Okay, I plan to be here on Tuesday.
I think next Tuesday is 17th of Tammuz.
Yeah.
So there will be no pastries.
No pastries. It'll be Parsha and Parsha.
We'll have air pastries.
Yes. No pastries. That's a good point. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
It's still just like what's bothering Rashi. Forgive me, Hashem, I'm not comparing myself, but if Mordechai was in charge, it begs the question, because wasn't part of the issue of the party that some Shushan Yehudit came, participated, and didn't recoil in horror when some of the temple
They had to
vessels
come.
were used?
They had to come.
Yes, but you
So
could
Mordechai
still-
was there to try to mitigate the harm as best as he could. But this was not even in our world today, right? If none of the Jews come, that's a statement, right? So I think it was compulsory attendance.
Yeah, but
over
they
there.
didn't have to. Didn't have to.
They shouldn't have
necessarily
enjoyed it.
Yes.
They shouldn't have enjoyed it. But Mordechai can't legislate if a person is enjoying it or not, right? You can't
but
legislate.
He could have cautioned that. Oh my gosh, these are the temple.
I imagine he would have. I imagine he probably did.
Some of those people may have been born in Shushan because of the exile of. And
Yeah.
They may never have seen the temple.
Yeah, towards the end of the 70 years. Yeah, many of them have been born there. Yeah.
So he, what responsibility?
Why are we assuming that he didn't? All right.
Start writing
We'll call her over here.
And,
Again, Rosa, best to Alex, please. Okay.